Hello everybody, my name is Nordin. I'm glad to be with you for a new English lesson. Today I'm going to teach you words and expressions we use to respond to good and bad news, and also words and expressions we use to complain. First, we'll start with responding to good and bad news. Please read the following dialogue and answer this question. What did Betty and Sarah say to respond to Wendy's bad news? Here's the dialogue. Okay. There are three people, Sarah, Wendy, and Betty. So, do you want me to read the dialogue for you? Okay, let's do it. What's the matter, Wendy? I've got some bad news. Jennifer didn't make it through the operation. You're not saying that she passed away, are you? She died at about midnight last night. Oh my God, how sad. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. So, what expressions did Sarah and Betty use to answer Wendy's bad news? Wendy said, I've got some bad news. And what did they say? Okay, so the answer is, Betty said, oh my God, how sad. And Sarah said, oh dear, I'm so sorry. So, of course, there are more expressions that we can use. So, to respond to bad news or to sympathize with someone, we say, oh dear, I'm sorry, or I'm so sorry. Oh my God, what a pity. That's awful. That's terrible. Poor thing. How sad or how terrible. That's bad luck. Sorry to hear that. I am, or I was so sorry to hear that. My deepest sympathy and condolences. This one is more formal, and we use condolences in case of death, of course. So please look at them for a few seconds. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Now, to respond to good news, we say, congratulations. I'm really glad, or I'm really happy to hear that. I'm really delighted. You can say, what great news. Well done. It gives me great pleasure too. I cannot tell you how happy I am or how happy I was. You can say, that's wonderful. Or, that sounds exciting. How marvelous. Awesome, and this one is more American. Incredible. Really. Or just a very informal one. Wow. Okay? So please look at them for a few seconds before we move on. Okay. Okay. Now, let's do some exercises. And let's start with this one. Please read the three sets of expressions and what's the function of each set. Here's the first. Okay, sorry. Is it giving good and bad news, or responding to good news, or responding to bad news? So here's the first set. I'm afraid I've got some bad news. We've got a bit of good news for you. I've got some bad news for you, I'm afraid. I'm really pleased to tell you that you passed. So, are these expressions used to give news, to respond to bad news, or to respond to good news? So, look at them. and then tell me which one is correct. Giving news, responding to bad news, or responding to good news. Good news, bad news. Okay. So, of course, it's giving news, giving good or bad news. The second set, how sad, my goodness, I'm so sorry to hear that. What a pity. Oh dear, I'm sorry. So these expressions are they used to give news, to respond to good news, or to respond to bad news. Okay? What is it? Yes, of course, they're used to respond to bad news. Now the third set, how marvelous. What great news. It gives me great pleasure to know that. I'm really glad to hear that. Congratulations. So are these expressions and words used to give news, to respond to bad news, or to respond to good news? So which one is correct? Good, yes. They're used to respond to good news. Okay, let's do the second exercise. How would you respond to the following pieces of news? Number one, my car broke down about a mile down the road and I've walked all the way here. So, how do you respond to this news? Number two, just sending out the good news that our son Grant was born. So, someone sent you this email or this message. How would you respond to it? Number three, I got a low grade on my last math test this week. So, how would you respond to this one? Number four, our school soccer team has qualified for the country final. So, how would you respond to this good news? So, look at number one. Okay, is it a good news or a bad news? Number two, number three, and number four. Please respond to them. Let's start with the first one. My car broke down about a mile down the road and I've walked all the way here. This is a bad news, of course. So, what can you say? Yes, of course, for example, this is an example. This is just an example. You can say, sorry to hear that. You must be exhausted. Number two, just sending out the good news that our son Grant was born. So a friend of yours told you that he or she's got a new baby. So what would you say? For example, you can say just congratulations on the new baby, Amanda. Amanda is the name of the person who's got the baby. Number three, I got a low grade on my last math test this week. This is a bad news. How would you respond to it? For example, oh dear, I'm sorry to hear that. This is just an example. There are different ways of responding to this bad news. Number four, our school soccer team has qualified for the country final. This is a good news. You can say, for example, wow, that's wonderful. Okay? Now, let's move to the second part of this lesson, and it has to do with complaining. Okay? So, what is complaining first? A complaint is an expression of displeasure or dissatisfaction. It can be about a service, a location, a practice, or a process. Okay? Now, look at this question. Read the dialogue and fill in the following chart. Here's the chart. So please copy down the expressions we use to make a complaint on the left, and on the right the expressions we use to answer a complaint. Of course, from the dialogue. Here's the dialogue between an operator and Mr. Du Bois. Operator: hello, smart computers, may I help you? Yes, I've got a bit of a problem here. I ordered a battery for my laptop, but you sent the wrong one. Oh no, can you tell me exactly what battery you ordered and what you got? Yes, I ordered number 68901U, but I got 68910U instead. It won't fit my laptop. I'm very sorry. Let me check and see if we have the correct battery here right now, and if we do, I can have someone deliver it this afternoon. Would that be okay? Yes, please. The sooner I have the battery, the better. Okay, so what expressions are used to complain and what expressions are used to respond to the complaint? Can you spot them? Okay, of course they're highlighted. Now let's correct. So to make a complaint, Mr. Du Bois said, I've got a bit of a problem here. And the answer is, oh no. The operator also said, I'm very sorry. Of course, there are more expressions. Okay, we'll see a few of them. What are they? So to complain, we can say, I've got a bit of a problem here. You can say, I'm sorry to have to say this, but, and you give the situation. I'm afraid, or I'm afraid I have to make a complaint. You can say, I'm sorry to bother you, but. You can also say, I don't know how to say it, but. You can also start your complaint this way, don't get me wrong, but. Or you can start this way, excuse me if I'm out of line, but. Okay? You need some time to look at them again? Okay. Please take a few seconds and look at them. Okay. And then to answer or to respond to the complaints, we can use expressions such as, oh no, as the operator said to Mr. Du Bois. You can say, I'm very sorry. You can say, oh dear, I'm really sorry. Or, oh, I'm sorry about that. Or I can tell you how sorry I am. I mean, you just use expressions of apology. You just apologize. Or you can say, well, there isn't much we can do about it. Or, well, I'm sorry, there is nothing we can do about it, actually. Etc. Now, let's do a couple of exercises. And here's the first one. For the first one, I'd like you to match the complaints with the pictures. Here are the complaints. Here's the first one. Sorry to bother you, but your son has been playing his radio too loud. Number 2, excuse me, I've been waiting for my dish for more than 10 minutes. Number 3, sorry to say this, but this bread is really stale. Number 4, I've got a bit of a problem here. You gave me the wrong change. And here are the picture number 1, picture number 2, 3, and 4. So, which complaint goes with which picture? Look at the sentences, pictures. Easy, isn't it? Okay, let's correct. So, number 1, sorry to bother you, but your son has been playing his radio too loud. Picture 2, of course. Number 2, excuse me, I've been waiting for my dish for more than 10 minutes. Which picture is it? Good, yes, it's picture number 1. Number 3, sorry to say this, but this bread is really stale. Yes, picture number 3. Number 4, I've got a bit of a problem here. You gave me the wrong change. Okay, so what is it? Of course, the last one, yes. Okay, now let's move to the second exercise. How would you respond to the following complaints? First one, excuse me, I didn't order spaghetti. I ordered couscous. You like couscous? So this is a complaint by someone who likes couscous. Number 2, I'm afraid the date on this juice has expired. Be careful when you buy food, just read the dates on the food. Okay. Number 2, don't get me wrong, but I don't like anybody to touch my cell phone without permission. Okay, how would you respond? Number 3, sorry to say this, but the shirt I bought in your shop shrank when I washed it at 30 degrees. So please take a few seconds, look at the sentences, and try to answer them. Well, how would you respond to the first one, for example? And how would you respond to the second one? Okay. What about the third one? Okay. And the fourth one. Okay. Are you done? Can we correct? Okay, let's go. Now, the first one. Excuse me, I didn't order spaghetti, I ordered couscous. So, how can you respond to this one? Okay. For example, you can say, oh, I'm terribly sorry. There's been a mix-up. Who do you think said that? Maybe a waiter, yes. So maybe this has happened in a restaurant. Okay? Right. Number 2. I'm afraid the date on this juice has expired. So, how would you respond to this complaint? So you can respond positively or negatively. So, for example, you just say, really? I do apologize, sir. We'll change it at once. Okay? Okay, let's move to number 3. Don't get me wrong, but I don't like anybody to touch my cell phone without permission. So maybe this is a complaint to someone who uses or she uses your phone without permission. So how would you respond? Okay, what can you say if someone asks you not to touch their phone? So you can say, for example, sorry, I'll never do it again. Number 4, the last one. Sorry to say this, but the shirt I bought in your shop shrank when I washed it at 30 degrees. Okay, so how can you respond to this one? Okay, for example, you can say, well, I'm sorry to say that there isn't much we can do about it. Okay? So, now before I say goodbye, let me give you homework. So for this homework, I just want you to choose a situation and write an email of complaint to the people in charge. Here's the first one. For example, there is a scratch on a new appliance you bought, on a new tool, for example, a radio, a laptop, a camera, etc. And there is a scratch on it, so you complain to the people in charge. Or a factory near your house makes a lot of pollution. Or there is a dead mouse inside a new packet of chips. So you write a complaint, a letter of complaint, an email, etc., to the people in charge, and you complain. And the last one, your new camera takes bad pictures. Of course, you've got to complain because it's new, it has to take good pictures. Okay? That's all for today. Thank you for being with me. Goodbye.